Hey everybody, I am back again today, handheld, using my phone, which I've had decent luck with, but since my camera is being used for other things right now, that's why I've decided to go ahead and use the cell phone today. And in fact, I wanted to show you my camera setup. It's been a couple of years since I shared how I take my pictures, and I thought right now might be a good opportunity to do that, so let's take a look. All right, so here I'm set up to take a picture of this HeroClix model, and I am using my Sony a6000. Not a large camera, as you can see. It looks like a point and shoot, but I assure you it is not. This is actually, it's a Sony mirrorless camera, and since it's mirrorless, it can be much smaller than your standard DSLR. And one of the things that I was trying to fix when I bought this camera was weight. My last camera was a pretty standard Nikon DSLR, and it was big and bulky, and whenever I went anywhere, it sort of made a statement like, I'm a professional photographer trying to take pictures of things, and that was not necessarily the case. Why this doesn't like to focus in on this. Anyway, when I take this out, nobody looks at me twice because, like I said, it looks like a point and shoot. But this has everything that my old Nikon could do and more and better. One of the things being that it has a really, really nice user interface back here. Much easier to get to things. It's tons of features, many of which I never use. Because the two things that I do with this primarily are shoot photos of my minis and shoot video of me painting stuff. And so it's a fairly limited use thing. But in order to do that, I need to have a camera that has good manual functions, which this one has. And since I'm going back and forth between doing video and doing still photo, I also want the user interface to be fairly simple and straightforward, and this has both of those things. If I was looking for a dedicated video camera, this would not be great for that. There are limitations that a camera like this has when shooting video, but for what I do, it is perfect, and it gives me great quality video. But again, since it's sort of it's a hybrid, well, not even really a hybrid, it's a still camera that shoots video, it does have its limitations. But I like it. And it still has the standard lens that came with it. I didn't have to buy anything special. This is a 16 to 50 3.5 5.6 lens, which is plenty fine for everything that I do. At some point, I'm going to buy a lens with a little bit more zoom power, but for now, not so much. My lighting, these are actually new. I used to have floor standing photo lights, and I just bought these table lights because they take up less real estate. I just bought them off of Amazon. I'll provide a link in the description, so if you are looking for a set of lights, you can see what I use. And inside of those, I have some 100-watt equivalent daylight LEDs, and they work plenty good. They're not special photo floods or anything. I just go and pick them up over at Home Depot. This is a marble tile that I picked up at Home Depot at some point. I've had it for several years, and you've probably noticed it in my photos in the past. And I think it, it cost me a few bucks, but it is it's a nice base for doing my photos, and it's easy to clean. If there's any complaint about it at all, it's that it's heavy. But it actually, mostly when you get down low, you don't really see it too much, but when you do, it provides a nice little texture down there that I like. The background that you can see there is a material called Commando cloth. It's like a blackout material, and the surface of it feels a bit like felt, but without all the problems of felt. I prefer using simple black backgrounds for the most part, although you've probably seen my Hanger 18 backgrounds as well on occasion. I do sometimes use those. If there is a big problem with the black cloth, it is that I own animals with fur, and as you can probably see, the fur ends up on the background. So I do spend a fair amount of time going over it with tape to get rid of the excess fur, so I don't have to do it in Photoshop. And of course, I have a tripod. Pretty standard for shooting photos and my video, because you need to keep that thing still. And that about covers it. As far as the basic stuff that I use when I'm shooting pictures, I would say that another thing that I use on a fairly regular basis that I don't have handy, because I don't use it all the time, but I think everybody should have, is a gray card. And a gray card would be something, for example, you would set back where you're going to shoot your model, and then you take a picture of the gray card, and when you go into post-production, you can set all of your white balance based on the readings that you get from the gray card. Sometimes your camera will even allow you to do that work in the camera itself, so that it sets the white balance in the camera, and then you don't have to do it after the fact. But I do sort of both. I kind of know where my bulbs tend to fall in terms of white balance, but there's always you can always make it a little bit better in post-production. So having the gray card helps that out a lot. But that's about it. I think that covers all of the basics for what I use to shoot my photos. Sometimes I will add a piece of cardboard off to one side. It kind of keeps the light from falling on the background so that I can actually black out my background more. I might also even do that in front of the light to keep the light off of the lens and keep there from being lens flare. But otherwise, it's a pretty simple setup. I also have a diffuser that I made out of a bin, a small bin that it was sort of translucent white, that I use when I'm using my Hanger 18 backgrounds, because it also helps hold those backgrounds up in place. But I don't use that very often because I like the black. But that's about it. If you have any questions about my setup and how I shoot photos, please feel free to ask. I will provide links to the basic equipment, the lights and the camera. Actually, I'll always include a link to the camera in my description, because I like letting people know what I use, just in case they ever wonder. And that's it. Just let me know. And that's it for now. And I will talk to you all later.